We continue now at the top of Daf Memches Amud Aleph Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 48a. The Mishnah says, Shalosh Asherah, saying there are three kinds of Asherah trees. An Asherah tree is a tree that is worshipped as Avodah Zara. And the first kind is Elon Shenatu Mitchila L'Shem Avodas Kochavim. If you have a tree that was planted from the outset for the Avodah Zara, Harezu Asura, that is Asur. Gido Upislo L'Shem Avodas Kochavim Vehechlif. Let's say the person lopped off part of the tree, and he said that the part of the tree that regrows, that's the part that's going to be Avodah Zara. So then no Tal Mashahechlif, he could just take that which has regrown, and then the rest of the tree will be mutter. And finally, Hemitachte Avodas Kochavim V'Notla, if a person stood underneath the tree in Avodah Zara and then took it away, Harezu Muteres, that is mutter, that is permitted. Rashi explains, Harezu Asura Ad Sheyivtalena Ha'ovid Kochavim. Again, when it comes to the tree that's asur, that's forbidden, if the Ovid Kochavim, if the idolater nullifies it, then it would be permitted. Gido Ovid Kochavim O Yisrael La'avodas Kochavim L'tzorach Avodas Kochavim. Again, he lops off part of the tree, that could be an idolater or a Jew, does that for the Avodah Zara, La'avod HaGidulin Sheyigdalo Bo Mayata, to serve whatever grows after. V'hu Kvar Hayanatu, it was already planted, Kishabo Yisrael Lehanos Mimenu, when the Jew is coming to get benefit from it. So no Tel Mashahechlif, whatever has regrown, he should take. V'sarfo Kedin Asherah, he should burn it like an Asherah, like the law of Asherah. V'ikaro Mutter Bahano, and then the main part is going to be Mutter Bahano. And the Gemara says, Amri Devei Rabbi Yanai, they say in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yanai, V'hu shehivrich v'hirkiv begufo shel Elon. When we talk in the middle case of the Mishnah, lopping off part of it and then the part that regrows is going to be Avodah Zara, it's actually talking about grafting into the tree itself, meaning to say you're either taking a branch from the tree, putting it underground, extending it underground so it grows like a new tree, or grafting onto the tree. That's what we really mean in that situation. But the Gemara asks, V'hanon Gido Pislo Tanan, but that doesn't make sense, because it says in our Mishnah that he just lopped off part of the tree, and then again, whatever regrows is going to be for Avodah Zara. It doesn't have to be so much within the guf of the Elon that you're hivrich v'hirkiv. It doesn't have to be grafting. So Ella rather ki itmar to Rabbi Yanai l'inyan bittul itmar. Rather, what Rabbi Yanai was saying was with regards to bittul, to nullification, means to say as follows: Di'afal gav de hivrich v'hirkiv begufo shel Elon. Even if he did a kind of grafting in the tree itself, maybe there you would say we're more strict, but no, ki not al mashahechlif, as long as he takes what was regrown, shapir dami, so that is fine. Demau detema, because what might you have said, kevan dehivrich v'hirkiv begufo shel Elon ki Elon shenato mitchila dami, since he grafted within the tree itself, it's like he planted from the outset the tree for Avodah Zara, v'litzar kulan, the whole thing should be forbidden, kamash malon. So that's what Devei Rabbi Yanai is teaching, that again, if he's going to take away that which regrew, then that will be sufficient. And Rashi explains, V'hu shehivrich v'hirkiv begufo shel Elon. Again, hivrich is when he takes the branch of the tree and sinks it into the ground, and then it grows like a new tree. And hirkiv is referring to grafting. Meyosa havracha v'harkava hayu chalifos, of the new parts that grew were from the havracha and the harkava. The havlehanach gidulin hanituin mitchila lekach. Then it's considered like they were planted from the outset for this purpose, for Avodah Zara. The lavhachi, and if you don't do it that way, afilu chidesh lo mitzar, even if there's some new part that grows, that would not be asur, would not be forbidden. But the Gemara asked Gido Tanan, it said in the Mishnah Gido, meaning you just lopped it off. Misha Maisa Porsa Shina Bialma like Mitzvah. Even that small Maisa is going to be enough to create the Isser, that little amount of regrowth. And Rashi continues, Linyan Bitula Itmar, the Gemara then revised Devei Rabbi Yanai that they're actually talking about nullification. Velola Inyan Tchilas Isser, it's not in terms of the beginning of the Isser. Lo Marshim Lo Hivrich Begufo Lo Yetzarach Bittel, to say that if you didn't do Havracha, so then it's not going to require Bittel. Ela Abittel Kai, we're actually going on the bittul. When the Yisrael is mevatel in this fashion, by cutting off the regrowth, that is sufficient. Even though something was done in the tree itself. And the Gemara continues, Amar Shmuel says, if somebody bows to a tree, tosafte asura, so the additional growth of that tree is going to be asur, it will be forbidden. And the Gemara continues, Meisiv Rebbe Lazar asked the following question from our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Gido Pislo Lavodas Kochavim, if he trims the tree, and the idea is that whatever is going to regrow is going to be for Avodah Zara, the hechlif, and it regrows, notel masha hechlif, so then he takes whatever regrew. So therefore we see from here that Gido Pislo in, that if he trimmed it, so then we say that the growth is going to be forbidden. But lo Gido Pislo lo, but if he didn't trim it, if he simply bowed down to the tree, we would not say that whatever is additional is going to be forbidden. And the Gemara continues, Amar lach Shmuel, Shmuel will say to you, Ha mani Rabbanan he. The Mishnah, our Mishnah, is following the opinion of the Rabbanan. Ushmuel, the Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, the Amar Elon shenato levasofa vodo aser. Again, there was a machlokas earlier between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Let's say you have a tree that was planted not for Avoda Zara, and it was only later worshipped as Avoda Zara. So again, Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda was the one that says forbidden in that case. The Rabbanan say permitted. And so again, our Mishnah is following the Rabbanan, and that's why it's permitted if all the person did was bow down to the tree. But Shmuel says, like Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, again, that it's going to be forbidden in that case, and the idea is that it is specifically the growth that is forbidden. And Rashi explains, Amar lach Shmuel, Shmuel will say to you, Talmud mahader hachi motzi Shmuel letrutze. This is the Gemara talking of, this is what Shmuel can answer. Hamani Rabbanan he, that this is, our mission is the Rabbanan, the Pligio led to Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. The Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. V'amri, and they say, Elon shenatul levasofa avodo mutter, that a tree that was planted and then later worshipped is mutter. Hilkach gido upislo have kinetua mitchila. Therefore, in a situation where you trim the tree for the purpose of Avodah Zara, that's the same as like planting from the outset for Avodah Zara, lakach, for that purpose. To mishum gidua machlef tfei umitzra, again, because of the fact that you're doing that trimming, so now it's going to regrow more and it becomes usr. Avalo gidolo, but if you didn't do that trimming, then it would not become usr. Whereas Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says the act of bowing alone is what makes it usr. But the Gemara continues and asks, Maskifla Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi asks the following question: Mimayder Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda v'Rabbanan b'Tosefes Pliga. How do you even know that Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda and the Rabbanan are arguing about the additional growth? Dilma Tosefes Ledivrei Hakol Aser. Maybe everybody would agree if you bow down to a tree, so again, it was not planted for Avodah Zara purposes, but you bow down later on, everybody agrees that the additional growth is Aser. Uvi Karo Pligi, and maybe the whole machlokus between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda is by the main part of the tree. The Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Savari Karo Nami Aser. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda would hold that the main part of the tree is also forbidden. Because it's written in the pasuk that you have to burn down the Asherah tree. The idea is you burn the entire thing down, meaning even the main part is Aser. For Rabbanan Savri, and the Rabbanan hold Ikar Elon Shari, that if you bow down to the tree, the main part of the tree remains permitted. As it's written, V'asherehem tegadein, it says you're going to cut down the Asherah, meaning Ezo Elon Shagiduo Aser V'ikaro Shari. When do you have a situation where the tree, the growth is going to be aser, but the main part is permitted? Haviomer Elon Shanatu Levasof Avadu. That would be this case again, where you planted it not for Avodah Zara and only later worshipped it. And so again, in that situation, the Rabbanan would say it's only the growth that is aser. And so maybe we can say again that everybody agrees the growth is aser, and Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda simply adds that the main part of the tree is also forbidden. And Rashi explains, Maskifla Rav Ashi asks, My duchkach le'ukma le'deshmuel aliba detanoi. Why do you have to say that what Shmuel said, when Shmuel said if one bows to the tree, then the additional growth is aser? Who says that's a machlokas tanoim? Maybe everybody agrees to Shmuel. Mimayder Rabbanan Rabbi Yossi b'Tosefes Pligi. How do you know the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi are arguing about the additional growth? To the Rabbanan Sharia, that according to the Rabbanan, the additional growth is permitted to Shmuel Tanoi, and again what Shmuel said is a machlokas tanoim. Dilma Tosafto Divrei Akolas, or maybe what the added growth everybody agrees is aser, b'shtachava, through bowing to the tree. With the Shmuel divrei hakoli, and again what Shmuel said is going to follow everyone. Uve ikar ilan pligi, and they're arguing about the main part of the tree. Rabbi Yossi savar ikar ilan aser. Rabbi Yossi says the main part of the tree is also forbidden. Afilu heichadelo nato mitchil lakach, even if it was not originally planted for that purpose. Dechsiv ashereim tisrafun, it says you're going to burn the asherah trees. Rashi says ashereim trei mashma, because the word ashereim is in plural. It's mashma too. Chad lenatua mitchil lakach. One would apply when you planted it for Avodah Zara from the outset. And the other one it would apply when you planted and later worship. And the Rabbanan hold if it wasn't planted for that purpose, it's permitted. It says you're going to cut the Asherah tree. That implies there is an Asherah tree, that the main part is not Aser. Only the additional growth. The rest can remain in the land for whatever is needed. Now, if it's because of the pasuk of Asherim Tisrafun, there is a pasuk that says you have to burn the whole tree, and that implies the whole tree, that's been a tu. That's talking when it was planted originally from the outset for Avodah Zara. And why does it use a plural in the pasuk? That's Akol Asherah Shabartzuchem Hanatuas Mitchilakach Koi. That's going on all the Asherah trees in your land that are originally planted for Avodah Zara. And the Gemara continues, V'chitema, now if you're going to say, Halomitar Sinan Hachi, but we didn't give that answer earlier. In other words, we didn't say earlier that the machlokus between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda is with regards to the main part of the tree. Rashi explains, we had a sugya earlier about this, and we didn't say that. Because earlier we said that according to Rabbi Yossi, his reason, he learns out that a tree that was planted and then worshipped, where does he learn that out from? He doesn't learn that out from Vasherem Tisrafun. Rather, it's mi Vasherem Tegadeon. The Gemara earlier said he learns it from the pasuk of Vasherem Tegadeon. Alma Modahu di Karo Mutter of Atosevis Pligi. You see that he admits that the main part of the tree is mutter, and they're arguing about the extra growth. But the Gemara says to that, Eipach Rabbanan Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, but then we could just reverse the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, meaning in the entire sugya earlier, just reverse the positions. With Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Rabbanan, we can reverse again Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda and the Rabbanan, just swap their positions. And Rashi explains, Eipach just reversed the positions. Teirutza de Rabbanan Rabbi Yossi, the Rabbi Yossi the Rabbanan, meaning the answer we gave earlier, just give the answer we gave for the Rabbanan for Rabbi Yossi, and the one for Rabbi Yossi for the Rabbanan. Because it's not explicit anywhere in a Braisa, for example, that Rabbi Yossi learns it out from Vasherem Tegadeon. To Rabbi Yossi Vasherem Tisrufun Beishnas Avlay Talmud. In fact, Rabbi Yossi actually quotes the pasuk of Vasherem Tisrufun Ba'esh. That's what the Gemara brought, Lemilse, that's what the Gemara brought his words. And it was really just the Gemara that asked on that, isn't that pasuk needed for a situation where the tree was originally planted for Avoda Zara? And then the Gemara said, oh, he really has his reason from Ve'asherim Tegadei, and that was a sugya earlier. So Hilkach Apech Teirutza, so therefore just reverse that answer. The Rabbi Yossi Tirtzis, this answer you gave for Rabbi Yossi, Ve'emer Rabbi Yossi mi Ve'asherim Tisrafun Ba'esh, and instead say that Rabbi Yossi really does learn from Ve'asherim Tisrafun Ba'esh, the Mashma Loshen Rabbim, which again is a plural, Nafkalei Tarvayu, so he learns out both from that idea because it's in plural, so he learns out when it's planted originally for Avodah Zara and also when it's planted and then later worshipped. And then you could say, according to this, if you're going to reverse it, that the Rabbanan, their source is actually Vasherem Tegadeon. The idea is that the growth is what is forbidden, but the main part of the tree is mutter. Rabbi Yossi could use that pasuk for the limud we had earlier, that the cutting down of the Avodah Zara precedes the conquering of Eretz Yisrael. That was a sugya before. The Rabbanan would learn that idea from the double language of destroy and destroy. You can go down the entire answer that we gave in the earlier sugya. If you just reverse the opinions, it will work out. But the Gemara continues and says that you can't simply reverse the opinions because Imkain, if so, Gido Pislo Man Kotani La, our Mishnah, which talks about lopping off and trimming off from the tree. So who's going to be the author of our Mishnah? Lo Rabbanan, V'lo Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. It wouldn't be able to be the Rabbanan, and it wouldn't be able to be Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. I Rabbanan, because if you're going to try to say it's the Rabbanan, below Gido Pislo Nami Tosefes Asura, the Rabbanan hold that even without trimming, without lopping off the tree, the additional growth is going to be Asur, because we're saying everybody agrees to that. And I Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, and if it's Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, Ikari la Nami Asur, then even the main part of the tree is Asur, so nothing would be able to be worked out within the Mishnah if you took this approach. And the Gemara says, no, you could work it out. If you took this approach, you could say that the Mishnah follows the Rabbanan. You could also say it follows Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda as follows. If you want, you could say it's Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Ki ka'amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda below Gido Pislo, Iker Elon Aser Bistama. When does Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda say that in a situation, when does Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda say that the main part of the tree is Aser? That's in a situation where you didn't trim or lop off any part of the tree. Again, you just worship the tree, so then we're going to say that the main part of the tree is Aser. Avol Gido Pislo, but in a situation where he lops off, he trims the tree, Goli Adaite, so then actually he shows to Vitosefes Nichole that what he really wants is the growth. That's where the Avoda Zara is, so to speak. And Be'ikar Ilan Lo Nichole, but the main part of the tree that's not pleasing to him in terms of the Avoda Zara. And actually in that situation, you can suggest that Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda would actually be more lenient, that only the additional growth becomes Aser. So that's how Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Yehuda, according to this approach, could be the author of the Mishnah. And Ibaysim, if you want, I could say Rabbanan, that the Mishnah is following the Rabbanan. And again, the question within the Rabbanan would be, what do you even need to talk about trimming the tree? Just in general, they say that the growth is asur. But no, Giddo Pislo Tzrichale, maybe the Mishnah specifically needs to teach the case of lopping off or trimming the tree, because one might have thought, Kavan do avad le maisa begufe, since you actually did something to the tree itself, Ikri lo nami litzer, so the main part of the tree should be forbidden, Kamash Malon, so the Mishnah is teaching, no, the Rabbanan say over there also, that it's only the growth which is asur. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Ezu Asherah, what is an Asherah tree? Kol sheyesh tachta avodas kochav, many tree which has beneath it Avoda Zara. Rabbi Shimon says, Kol she'ovdin osa, any tree which they worship which they worship the tree itself. Rashi explains, Ezuhi Asherah, what is an Asherah? But Gemara Parach, the Gemara is going to ask on this. V'anon Gimel Asherah Tanan. In the previous mission it said there are 3 kinds of Asherah trees. So what's going on over here when it says what is an Asherah, and then it just lists one kind? And the Mishnah continues, Umaisa B'Tzidon, there was an incident in Sidon. Be'ilan Shayu Ovdin Oso, there was a tree that they worshipped it. Umatzu Tacht of Gal, and they found a heap underneath. Amar Lehen Rabbi Shimon said to them, Bodku es Hagal Hazeh, examine this heap. Uvadku, and they examined it, Umatzu Botzur, and they found an idolatrous image. Amar Lehen, and so Rabbi Shimon said to them, since they're worshipping the image, Na'atir Lehen Sa'ilan, we are going to permit the tree. And Rashi explains, Kolsha Ovdin Osa Esa'ilan Atzmo. Again, according to Rabbi Shimon, they have to worship the tree itself. Avolim Ovdin Esavodas Kocham Shatachta Va'ilan Mutter. But if they would worship the Avodah Zara under it, then the tree would be mutter, according to Rabbi Shimon. And the Gemara says, Ezo Asherah, you're asking in the Mishnah, what's an Asherah? V'anan shalosh Asheros tanan. Didn't we learn in our Mishnah that there are 3 Asheros? And Rashi explains, V'anon gimel hein tanan, lamali l'mahadir u'miboy ezuhi. First of all, why do we need to ask what's an Asherah? We just listed Asherah trees in the earlier Mishnah. V'yod hasam tani tlas, and furthermore, over there were 3 kinds. V'hacha tani chad, and here there's 1 kind. So what's going on in this Mishnah? Again, V'anan shalosh Asheros tanan. We said earlier there are 3 Asherahs. And the Gemara says, Hachi kamer, this is what our Mishnah means to say. Shtayim l'divrei hakol, there are 2 Asherah trees that everybody agrees to. V'yachas, but there's 1 kind that's a machlokas to Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbanan. That's a machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan. Ezui Asherah shenachliku bar Rabbi Shimon v'Chacham, and what is the Asherah tree that Rabbi Shimon and the Chacham argue about? Kol sheyesh tachta avodas kochavim, if it has underneath it Avoda Zara. Rabbi Shimon Omer kol she'ovdim osa. Rabbi Shimon says it has to be a tree, again, that they worship the tree itself. And Rashi explains, Shtayim divrei hakol, there are 2 that everybody agrees. Sharei ilan atzma avodas kocham, if the tree itself is Avoda Zara, that everybody agrees to. And again, there's a machlokas in a situation where there's an Avoda Zara underneath, and they worship the Avoda Zara. Rabbi Shimon says that's not Asherah, it has to be that they're worshiping the tree itself. And the Gemara continues, Ezu hi Asherah stam, what in general is considered to be an Asherah? Rashi explains the question, Ezu hi Asherah stam, lava teirutza demasnisin klai. This is not going on the answer we just gave for our Mishnah. Elamilsa be'ave nafshe kamer Talmud, this is just an independent statement the Gemara is making. De pligi bo amoroi, that we're about to have a machlokas amoroim, Ezu hi Asherah stam, what's an Asherah? Ilon shelo huvru lanu shi Asherah, meaning, if you have a tree that it's not clear to us whether it's an Asherah tree or not, be'eza simen nikr im hi Asherah im lav, what sign can we use that it's recognizable whether or not it's an Asherah tree? That's the question of the Gemara. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav says, Kol shekomrim yoshvin etachtel, anytime the priests, the idolatrous priests, they sit under it, vein toamin mipeiroseh, and they don't taste from its fruits, that indicates that it is an Asherah tree, as Rashi says, Vadai polchila, that means they're certainly worshipping it. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, Afilu Amri, Hani Tamri Levein Nitzrafi, even if they say that these dates of the tree, they belong to Bein Nitzrafi, which is the name of their Avodah Zara, they're also, it's going to be forbidden. That indicates it's an Asherah. Durami Bei Shichra, because what they're really doing is they're putting that into the beer, Veshasi Le Biyom Edom, and they're drinking it on their holiday. Amar Amemar said, Amruli Sabi de Pumbedisa, the elders of Pumbedisa said to me, Hilchasa Kishmuel, that the halach is like Shmuel, again, that if they say the dates are for Bein Nitzrafi, then it's Asr, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Memches Amid Beis.